So there they are walking along, and Jesus wants to know, who do people say that the Son of Man is? And they know he means him. Who is Jesus? And they start throwing out the answers. Hey, some think you're John the Baptist, like Herod, who thinks maybe John the Baptist is risen from the dead. And some people say maybe you're Elijah. I mean, you're one of those wonder-working prophets, right? Or Jeremiah, or another of the prophets. But then he turned to them and he looked at them and he said, what about you guys? Who do y'all say that I am? I imagine there was a moment of silence before Peter opened his mouth. You know, he's always the first one to open his mouth and to get it out. And he said, well, you are the Christ. You are the Messiah. You are the Son of the living God. Christ, Messiah, and Son. He confesses all of that together. And Jesus responds to that confession with these words. Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah. Flesh and blood did not reveal that to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I'm telling you, you are Peter, Petros. And on this rock, Petra, I will build my church. And the gates of hell doesn't stand a chance against it. I'm going to give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatever you bind on earth is going to be bound in heaven. And whatever you loose on earth is going to be loosed in heaven. It's a pretty heady moment, don't you think? I mean, if you were Peter, you'd be looking around thinking, man, I nailed that. I nailed it. And you'd be wondering what Jesus meant when he said, I'm going to build my church on this. And you might think, he's building it on me. You need to read what happens afterwards. Because it's not long after that Jesus begins talking to the disciples about what it means to be the Christ, the Messiah. And he tells them about the suffering and dying in Jerusalem. And do you remember what Peter does? Takes him aside, says, whoa, Lord, that's not going to happen. You stop talking like that. Do you remember Jesus turning around, looking at his disciples, and he rebukes Peter. Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah. Flesh and blood has not revealed this to you. I'm going to build my church. And he says, get behind me, Satan. You have in mind the things of men, not the things of God. You're thinking just like an earthling, not like the Heavenly Father, whose great love provides the Son to be the sacrifice, which opens the kingdom so that the keys of the kingdom that I entrusted to you earlier are going to actually work because of my suffering and death. Are you really standing in the way of that, Peter? Get out of the way. That's Satan's way. That's not God's, which says that the church is not built upon Peter's person. The church was built upon Peter's confession. He got the confession right even though he didn't understand what it meant at all. He is the Christ. He is the Son of the living God. But it doesn't mean that he's not going to suffer, that he's not going to die. It means that he will. The church, against which the gates of hell cannot prevail. It's a church that confesses that Jesus is the Christ, the suffering, dying, and rising Messiah, the Son of the living God. Want to hear more on this? You need to go in the links below to the Word of the Lord Endures Forever podcast and listen through the entire Gospel of Matthew. It's all there for you. Check it out. Want to learn more about our podcast? Click the link in the bio.